Once I was privileged to visit the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, three gems of God's creation. They are small countries, very close to each other, yet each is entirely different from the others, rich in culture, history, and natural beauty. But when they needed each other most, these three neighbors extended their hands, quite literally, to one another. At 7 o'clock in the evening of August 23rd, 1989, the world was amazed when 2 million inhabitants of these three countries joined hands and formed a massive human chain well over 400 miles long, extending from Tallinn through Riga to Vilnius, their respective capitals. The word spread like wildfire throughout the world, and people in many other cities, in many other countries, joined hands in solidarity with their brothers and sisters in the Baltic. What were they doing? What was the statement they were making? Exactly 50 years before, on August 23, 1939, a secret pact was signed between the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany, agreeing that Russia could absorb these three tiny states. For the next half-century, they endured the unspeakable hardships inflicted upon them by their new masters. And for all those years, the Soviet Union continued to deny even the existence of the secret agreement that had enslaved these countries. With the brazen lies typical of that era, and typical of every era, they continued to claim that these proud, independent nations had begged the Soviet Union to occupy them. Now, 50 years later, the people had had enough. They demanded freedom, and they demanded truth. Hands off, they demanded of their giant neighbor to the east, and they expressed their demand by putting their own hands on, or rather in, the hands of each other. And these linked hands were unshakable. This remarkable demonstration has become known as the Baltic Way. Russia did indeed remove her giant hands, and the countries were freed. Today, the citizens of these now independent states are once again worried every time they perceive that Russia once again might want to stretch out her hand and scoop them back into her empire. Hands off, they cry again, and their demand is echoed by the rest of the world. Yet there are other times when it is not hands off that liberates, but rather hands on. The man who could neither hear nor speak was brought to Jesus, and they begged him to lay his hands on him. It was the touch of the hand of the Christ that would set the man free. But Jesus did not oblige. As always, he went further. He did not place his hands upon the man. He placed them into him, putting his finger into the ears and into the mouth, freeing him completely by becoming one with him. God does not touch us merely. God enters us. In the traditional terms of Catholic theology, grace is not external to us. Grace is the life of God within us. Hands off, we cry to the negative forces around us. Hands on, we beg of Christ the Liberator. And the Christ who surpasses all our dreams remains neither on nor off of us, but enters into us and frees us completely. And nowhere do we feel that liberating power more than when we too reach out and place our Christ-filled hand into the hand of another in need, stopping neither at the border of the Baltic, nor at the border of barbed wire, nor even at the more formidable border of human flesh. The Baltic way remains not Baltic, but universally human, a magnificent manifestation of the eternal way. Transformed by love, our human chain transcends the human, breaks every chain, and transports the joined hands and liberated hearts marvelously and triumphantly into the hand and heart of God.